weeks ago, one of my friends received a $100 parking ticket while dropping off something for me for less than 10 minutes because she couldn't find a place to park. The lack of parking and the strict and confusing restrictions can make getting around campus very inconvenient and thus tamper with students' education. Today, I will explain my position by addressing the severity of the parking problem, listing productive ways to fix the issue, and refuting UGA's argument for the policy. Let's begin with highlighting some important information about UGA's parking policy. When looking at the policy of parking on the UGA website, it states that there is no free parking anywhere on main campus or health science campus during the weekdays. With a very confusing bus system that doesn't always fit into your schedule, driving and finding a place to park can be crucial in getting to class on time or to important meetings, especially if you live off campus and have no other options. With exactly 28 long pages of rules and regulations that nobody's going to read for parking on the UGA website, the university does a horrible job of making the system clear and specific to students, faculty, and visitors who have very minimal options and less familiarity with the campus and policy. From my experience, a ticket here ranges from $40 to $100, which is absolutely ridiculous. Something that immediately struck me as a huge dilemma is that according to an article in the Red and Black, the number of parking spaces on campus is less than half the combined amount of students, faculty, and staff at UGA. And despite the growing population of students each year, the amount of parking has remained the same. A satirical article on the Black Sheep actually makes fun of the lack of parking at UGA by giving a few ways to park when the deck is full, including pulling onto the sidewalk between MLC and Tate, or pretending your car broke down on Lumpkin and just turning your hazards on. Clearly, because sidewalk parking isn't super ideal, several changes need to be made. First, to prevent the problem from occurring, it would be a good idea for UGA to send a much more concise list of parking rules before school begins, with weekly reminders similar to game day notifications. By using email, posters around campus, and updates to their website that are clearly outlined, instances of miscommunication and confusion would be lowered, and students would be more informed and aware of the parking situations. Though parking regulations may be crucial for safety and organization, parking tickets should be priced more reasonably. Ticket rates, first of all, should be less for students than for non-students. Even if there was a gradual increase in price for multiple-time offenders, that would be more fair. This would be enforced by requiring students to have hang tags on their cars or enrolling them in license plate recognition programs. To cater to short-term parking needs, an extremely convenient solution would be creating student temporary parking for drop-off, pickup, and pop-ins. This could be for 15 minutes of parking locations on East, West, North, or South campus, and is ideal because it is a small change that would cause large-scale benefits. Now let's set the record straight, that our school is more focused on making money off parking than looking out for students' best interests. So, rather than creating more parking and catering to our needs, UGA believes that these issues can be fixed by using alternative ways of getting to class, such as biking, busing, and walking. Seeing as in the summertime, we could be having to walk or bike to class on our hilly campus in the 100-degree heat, this argument is highly flawed. And though busing seems to be an alternative the school is promoting the most, I bet a good amount of people in this class can relate to either getting on the wrong bus, missing a bus, being confused by the app, or being late because a bus was too full to let you on. One time, I had a class that was so far, and I waited for a bus that was taking forever to come, so I instead spent money on an Uber so I wasn't late. I also remember a time where I drove to take an important pre-calc class and circled around looking for a spot for 20 minutes and was about 20 minutes late for the test and was freaking out. An article in the LA Times called "College Campuses Are Working to Lessen Parking Pains" mentions some ways universities around the country are dealing with similar parking issues. Just like UGA, students at numerous schools in this article complain of stressful parking situations, and say their university would rather hand it off to public transportation than create that much needed space. Not to mention, at UGA, there are no buses that go off campus and take us to do stuff such as run errands, get food, get groceries. So UGA, I think, just uses the solution of alternative transportation as a way to avoid facing the brutal fact that new parking needs to be created. And unfortunately for us, according to the Red and Black, here at UGA, there are no plans to build new lots currently in place. As I come to a close, let me emphasize the importance of fixing this issue. The parking at this school is lacking, and the policy is way too confusing, harsh, unfair, and inconvenient. For these reasons, UGA needs to price tickets more fairly, create a 15-minute parking spaces, outline more specific policy, and stop pretending like alternative transportation is efficient enough to solve our problem. As my next step, I encourage you all to look into this issue and talk to the school about your parking complaints so that us and future students do not have to carry the burden of worrying if they can get from point A to point B on time, stress-free, and without paying an overpriced ticket. Thank you.